try to work it all out.
Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Two Elderly Age Guys Trying to Work It All Out. I'm here with my good and old friend, Dave.
That's me.
And we're coming to you from the TAG studios in lovely Bezos 5.
Yep, at the Midwest of Mars.
That's right.
Before we get into things today, Chris, tell me, how was your Mars week?
It was good. I'm looking forward to Mars winter. It got up to 8 Celsius out there today.
Yep, yeah, it's sweltering here on Mars. Definitely looking forward to the winter. Mars winter. Well, folks, that's our Mars weather episode. That never gets old.
Actually, it does.
Anyway, Chris, what's our topic today?
Hey, hold on a second. Are you smoking?
Oh, these? Yeah, these are Marsboro Rads, anti-radiation cigs. They protect me from cosmic ray cancers and other dangers here on Mars, and they look cool.
I can't believe you brought that into the studio. Most of us just chew our anti-rad gum.
That's so boring, and the flavor just lasts for a few seconds. It's basically fruit stripe gum.
Will you put that thing out?
I'm all right, fine. Excuse me. It's cool.
Thank you. Now that we're past that, let's get into the episode. Today, we're going to go back in time, back to a past episode. Which episode would you like to go back and do over, Dave?
Do you remember back on Earth, back when we were middle-aged, we did this one episode about going back in time. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, back on Earth, 2023, long before President Gorbflog.
Good times.
That would be the one.
Well, I don't.
No, it's clearly your... Wow, Chris, did you hear that?
I did. I'm the one who played it.
Where did you get that?
I know a janitor at NASA. He said they were collecting radio signals from a planet in the solar system.
Oh, I think they mentioned Mars and cigarettes.
Did they? I didn't pick up on that. Anyway, they got this signal from a planet, and there were also some signs of a time anomaly in the area at that time. He sent this to me thinking maybe we could help them figure it out.
Oh, wow, he's a committed janitor.
He's the best.
He might have committed treason by giving you that tape. So.
Anyhow, I thought it'd be fine if I played it.
All right, well, today, Chris, what I would like to talk about is we pick a day, any day, right? And it could be any day that you live, kind of like quantum leap rules in your lifetime. And you're going to revisit it. And you're going to just talk about how you would spend that day in the past, where you would go, what you would do. I mean, kind of the ground rules are, you cannot interact with yourself. Otherwise, matter can't occupy the same space. I believe those are time cop rules, right?
Sure, yeah.
Jean-Claude Van Damme. Very strict. You will destroy the universe. All of creation would be destroyed. So you just gotta kind of hang out away from yourself.
All you had to say was time cop rules. I'm on board. I understand.
Yep. So what I've done is I have a time travel agent. Do you have a time travel agent?
No, I was hoping to just use your guy.
Okay, well, he's good.
Okay, good.
It's she.
Oh,
she's good.
I'm sure that she'll do just as fine.
She's great, and she will help navigate. People think I can just go online and I can set up my own time travel.
Of course.
But you know what? You get the agent, you get it done proper. They get you the discounts. You get the most out of your day. So I know people think time travel agents are a dying profession, but trust me, they serve a purpose. So I got a good one.
Yep, great.
And I've got my day planned, and I'm going to go back. And I tell you what, I heard that the recording of us, and I really want to make our future selves proud. We're gonna make this the best episode of T-Mag or T-Ag. We're gonna cover the whole spectrum of our ages. And I want them to be proud, and maybe they'll go and they'll listen to it, and maybe we'll have made a difference, and that might cause a paradox.
Absolutely,
in all of creation as well. But
I think it's worth the risk.
It's worth the risk. I want to do a good job for my future self, who apparently has a smoking problem.
I think he's doing it to protect himself.
Right, anti-radiation, very common. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my day. I'm going back in time. I have picked a day. Oh, by the way, I guess I should pull back the curtain and say, when you and I talked about this, I said, we've got to figure out a way to get the famous Celine Dion song, If I Could Turn Back Time.
And that's not Celine Dion at all.
It's not Celine Dion.
Cher.
If I could turn
So again, I'm going back. My time travel age got me set. I'm arriving Thursday, June 21st, 1990, here in the Midwest on Earth, Springfield, Missouri. And at 9 a.m., I got my rental time travel car, an 88 Ford Escort. I'm cruising around.
Nice. All right.
So I'm starting. That's where I'm going to start. Why don't you tell me about where you're going to start?
Okay. So I don't have an exact date, but it is going to be April 1993. Now, the day does not matter at all. Just some point in the month of April 1993. So whichever day is cheapest for the time travel agent, that's the one I'm going to go.
Yeah, you travel,
Yeah.
Monday, Tuesday, you're going to be in good shape.
Exactly.
They'll get you hooked up with the best discounts. All right. Well, so my specific date is important. And at the end, I'll tie it all together. Why Thursday, June 21st is a big deal.
Okay.
So I'm going to start my day here in Springfield, Missouri. At 9 a.m., I'm going to breakfast. And I've chosen to start my day in a McDonald's, an old style McDonald's. We had one of these. We had a few of them peppered throughout our local area. I don't know if you remember.
I do.
But that you would go in and they were huge on the inside, unlike now. I mean, there's like 3 seats now in a McDonald's. They don't want you in the restaurant.
No. And it's like order kiosk is in the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
But back then they wanted you to come in. They had big, giant dining rooms. And I loved those that had the sunken in dining rooms. You go in.
I
and
knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, I love the sunken in dining rooms. There's something about it. You're 3 feet lower than everyone else.
You have to go downstairs.
Sorry, you're in the basement of McDonald's. For whatever reason, I always loved those, and I was sad when the last one was gone. So I'm going to eat breakfast at one of those. I'm going to go down to that lower level and sit in the pit and enjoy. It's 9 a.m., so I'll be there on time. Enjoy an egg McMuffin, and just enjoy the smell of those McDonald's. There was something special about them. And for those that have never been in one, look it up, because you'll be like, "This is it's fancy." The stone floors and tile work and.
I may be overstating, but I think the last one that we had in Springfield was one of the last ones nationally to get converted.
That's sad. I'm sure. Hopefully, there's something out there somewhere, but those new ones are pretty soulless.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think, yeah,
Absolutely.
But those had those had character, and there were variations. We had one that had a train theme.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know. It's just a cool thing to think about. I loved it. Heartbroken when our last one was converted. But I'm gonna go. I'm gonna hang out and have breakfast, real low key. Hope my Ford Escort starts when I go back out there to continue my journey. But how are you starting your day?
All right, so I'm gonna also start off at 9 a.m. because that's what your travel agent set up for me. The car that I have is an '88 Chevrolet Celebrity.
An '88.
Yeah, and I'm going to breakfast to a place called Scramblers.
Oh yeah.
And it actually, I looked this up online. It does still exist, just not in this area.
Yeah.
But their menu's completely different now. So it's gone. It's lost. It's a figment of time at this point. But I'm going to Scramblers. I'm getting an omelet that is bacon, jalapeno, and tomato.
All right.
That is my omelet combination.
Yeah, I'm with you except for the tomato. It makes it too much moisture. But
Sounds
like delicious, though.
Yeah,
really.
no. And for whatever reason, I have this vivid memory in my mind of Scramblers, and that omelet combination at Scramblers was just outstanding.
Did you go there with your parents? Did you guys go?
Oh yeah, we did quite a while, and then when I got a little bit older, then as high school kids, we would go and hang out there, breakfast on weekends and that kind of thing. So yeah, Scramblers is my breakfast, and that's what I'm having. No great architectural discussion with the Scramblers. It's pretty much just your standard fare.
Diner. It's a standard.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So that's my breakfast, and that's what I'm tooling around town in.
I have never been to one. I don't think. I can't recall going to one. So, but now I'm going to go look it up, and I'm sure there's a Facebook page with 40,000 people dedicated to sharing pictures of Scramblers. So when I'm done, right? So I've chosen. I'm going to be done about 45 minutes. Doesn't take too terribly long. And I'm going to take my Ford Escort, and I'm cruising around the city of Springfield, Missouri. At the time, it's not a huge city. It's not huge now, but it's, in the 90s, it was probably, 2/3 of the population, maybe even half. I'm going to go, though, to our recently opened Toys R Us. At 9:45, I believe they opened at 10.
Yeah.
So I might have to wait in the parking lot for a few minutes. But I'm going to go and hang out at the Toys R Us and walk around, because I have a ridiculous amount of nostalgia for Toys R Us, especially that era.
Oh man.
Do you remember you go in and if you wanted to look at like a video games, they would have like the wall of games with cards, you know, and you would go pick your card and take it to a stand or to the security window, and then they'd give you your stuff.
And above the card that you would pick up was the box art, and it was like on a flippy piece of plastic, that you would lift up, and you could see the back of the box art.
Of it. Oh yeah,
yeah.
Such a cool system.
Oh, it was fantastic. And then the best part was when you were buying a game. And you had checked out, and then you go to like the secure room where you'd have to turn in your ticket. And for just a brief moment, when the window opened, you'd see the wall of games that was actually, actual product. Oh man, to have been a kid locked in that room.
When they opened it, did you hear the
exactly?
The
the light came out. It was too bright for me to look at directly. That was that kind of a situation.
Our good friend Larry at the Retro Gamers podcast has a story about that where he went, I believe it was a Nintendo 64 game, and they went and they did not have it.
I remember that story.
And he I believe his mom did secure him a copy later. I think she may have got it for free.
There was some
it's a great story. Listen to the
some
Retro
arm
Gamers.
wrestling was involved in that story. Yeah.
Check Larry and Anthony out, but that's a great story that ties into this.
Absolutely. But Toys R Us was a magical place, and there's no more satisfying place I've ever been to buy a video game than Toys R Us.
Definitely. I mean, I'm struggling to think of anything that even comes close, really, because it was so much stuff. And I remember going in at the time. They had Commodore 64 games, and you just didn't see that. Folks, now you can go look that stuff up on the internet. But in 1990, you had to actually be in a place where they had, some physical, either a picture or the actual games themselves. And it was cool to flip and look at the back of those Commodore 64 games. They had Marvel games that were pretty lame, but the pictures looked cool, and it was just always like, wow, I would love to try this. Didn't have one, but you could see there's so much cool stuff, and then the video game systems behind cases, and then you go to the action figure section where there's just tons of stuff, and just peruse all the in 90 the Batman 89 figures are still going to be out, and the re-release of like the Superpowers DC Comics figures, just cool stuff to look at that I miss, and I'm gonna hang out in Toys R Us. Just take it in. I tell you, I mourn the loss of toy stores, and specifically Toys R Us. I remember, I don't know about you, going in when they were closing and just seeing the store shrink and the inventory disappear, and the fixtures. Oh, it was heartbreaking.
Yeah. No, that was certainly an icon of our childhood and of Springfield. I mean, it was a big store, and it was adjacent to the big shopping mall at the time. And it was outstanding.
And every community probably has this story. And the communities were less, they got diminished by the loss of Toys R Us. It hurt them. It was probably a lot of people had the same sort of sadness that was removed. And it was, Walmart does a pretty decent job with their toys. Target does a good job with their toys. Amazon does an outstanding job with everything, but toys but there's nothing like going to a dedicated toy store.
Agreed. Yeah.
And I'm not done. I'm going to go to more toy stores today. So that's how I spent after breakfast. In between breakfast and lunch, I was spending an hour and a half there inside of Toys R Us. What are you doing?
All right. So your idea was way better than mine. And they're kind of adjacent to each other. So what I'm doing is I'm taking some of the 1993 currency that the travel agent has given to me. And I'm going and I am purchasing a Super Nintendo, and I am purchasing The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past.
Oh yeah.
Which came out in 92, but there are reasons that I'm in 1993 that we'll get to here in a little bit.
We both have, I'm sure, bizarre, ridiculous reasons for the date that we have.
Yeah, and to pull back the curtain a little bit, when you set the rules, because you said, let's go back in time to a day in the past. And immediately I was like, okay, I know what day I'm going through, because I'd love to relive
December 25th, the year 00, and I'm going to be there when Jesus is born.
No, okay, but then you limited it within my lifetime.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm not 2,000 years old.
So I couldn't do that one. And then you limited it that I couldn't interact with myself. And then you limited it that I couldn't change the future.
Putting the rules
on.
Oh,
man. So I'm going back to this time. I'm getting Super Nintendo. I'm getting Legend Legend of Zelda, and I am plugging into a TV, whether it's at the hotel that I'm booked at or wherever I can play, and I am popping in and in a roundabout time travel way, I am playing Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past for the first time.
Ooh,
yeah.
You just incepted. Wow, that's pretty cool. You are. That's really neat. So, well, after I'm done with Toys R Us, I'm not going back to the hotel because I got a packed day. Because next door to Toys R Us, or a couple stores down, is a bizarre little fixture from the past that I pine for a few moments in, and that would be I'm gonna go visit Service Merchandise.
Oh wow!
And I have a memory of Service Merchandise. That's the first place I ever bought a Nintendo game with my own money. And when I was about 1990, I'm sure, probably actually a little later, I didn't have one then. I went in and with my birthday money, I bought Super Contra, $29.95 from Service Merchandise. Service Merchandise is a weird store. So for those that don't know, Service Merchandise was a throwback store where you went in and it was like a showroom and you picked things out. Kind of, Toys R Us had that a little bit of that going on too. But you'd pick things out and you'd go and you'd pay for it, and then it would, in the back, they'd go into the warehouse and get it, and it would come out on like this conveyor belt thing, and it was weird and special and inefficient, but it was a shopping experience unlike anything you're going to get today, and I just wanted to hang out for a few minutes in there.
It was kind of like somebody had the idea of let's turn the Sears catalog into a physical store.
Yes, right.
Like that was kind of the Service Merchandise vibe. We didn't go often when I was a kid, but we would go every once in a while. And I was amazed with the store because like I didn't have a concept of stores where the inventory changed. Like I just grew up in the Walmart world where it was like, oh, they've got the same stuff always, and you never knew what you were going to find in Service Merchandise.
Yeah.
And in fact, the biggest thing I remember there is that was the first place where I found the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles NES game that was sold out everywhere.
But since no one shopped at Service Merchandise, you were able to find it.
And we
covered in dust.
And I saw it there, and my parents were, I mean, they obviously didn't watch Ninja Turtles, but they were aware of it enough that when they realized they had it in stock, they were like, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So I was able to get Ninja Turtles.
Now you're talking about the original one. You're not talking about the arcade game. You're talking about the side scroller with the top down view.
The terrible game that it is.
Oh yeah. I always got stuck. I don't know if you remember, not the aside, but remember that jump that you had to do? It was just super hard. You had to get to the perfect position. You had to do the lesser jump, the tap.
Yep.
I could never make that jump.
That was a mess. And then if you got further, there was a swimming level where you had...
Yes, I saw someone do that.
Yeah, you had to defuse bombs.
Yep.
That, to this day, I can't get past that. That level is insanely hard.
I have fond memories of attempting with that game. I do.
Oh, at the time, it was the coolest thing ever because you were playing a Ninja Turtle and you could switch between all four of them. Yeah.
It had a good... I remember the music being good. I remember the top-down stuff. It was novel. It expanded the scope of the world.
Absolutely. And I think we've had this conversation before, but when you're a kid, there's no such thing as a bad video game. You just play it because that's what you got. And so my negative opinion of it is formed as an adult looking back.
You look back like it could have been better.
Right.
But that was, that's so cool that you have a service merchandise story. If you're not familiar with it, go check it out. Also, the nerdy side is when I'm in there hanging out, I'm going to look at their IT because I remember at the time in 1990 their computer systems were ancient in 1990.
Yeah.
They were like wooden boxes around hand built wooden boxes around workstations and things like that. Just really old stuff. I'm sure there was like a AS400 or something in the back running operations and producing reports. I just would peek and take a look at the giant mechanical clickety keyboard.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just have fond memories of that place. I only remember buying one thing there as a child. As an adult, as they were closing, I bought my wife a piece of jewelry there in 97 or 98. No, it would have been later than that. Maybe. I don't know. Anyways, I can't remember when they closed. It was sometime between 97 and 2000. But I bought her a piece of jewelry there. So I just, I spent a few minutes. It's right there by Toys R Us.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to go. That's my before lunch. So where
I'm still playing Zelda.
Are you still playing Zelda? So I'm going to go straight to lunch. So I'm ready. I'm going to lunch. I'm going to find after my breakfast at Taco Bell, excuse me, after my breakfast at McDonald's, I'm going to go find for lunch an old stucco brick Taco Bell, the old Mission style ones.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna hope that Monterey Jack burrito is on the menu. Or they got some of that sauce back there. If not, I'll get it like an old school chicken burrito or a chicken soft taco. Maybe about 20 of them. But I really love those old Taco Bells. And that's how I'm going to spend my lunch.
We're gonna run into each other, and I can show you my notes if you want me to.
I'm not surprised.
Verbatim, it says lunch is at Taco Bell, the mythic Monterey Jack chicken soft taco. So yeah, that's what I'm going back for. Now I am taking some liberties. You're in 90, I'm in 93.
Yeah.
The internet has no record of this food product.
It's true.
If you and listeners, I encourage you to do this. If you Google Taco Bell Monterey Jack chicken soft taco, you will find a Reddit post that has a link to a YouTube commercial that is no longer posted. And then it has a grainy photograph of one newspaper ad showing the Monterey Jack chicken soft taco.
I have seen this because I've been down this trail.
So I'm taking a little bit of liberties. I think that we both can dine on this item at Taco Bell,
possibly
in the time frame that we're talking about. But any Taco Bell executives out there who are listening, and I know there's thousands of them, give us the scoop on the Monterey Jack chicken soft taco. Why has it been erased from the world? I want to know.
Yeah, there's something going on there.
We're probably going to disappear because we're talking about it right
This
now.
is actual gaslighting, right? But no one knows how to use the term gaslighting. I was watching something about that is a term that is used for everything. If you disagree with someone, you're gaslighting me. And no one, but this is truly, we're being we're questioning our sanity about whether or not this burrito that we, or taco rather, that we knew we had ever existed.
Taco Bell wants it gone. They do not want people to know about this.
We're onto something here. We're gonna dig in. The Shriners are involved. The Masons. That's how I'm spending my lunch.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. We probably different time periods. I hope that doesn't cause some sort of problem.
Well, I mean, we're not running into ourselves unless. So it's through the week. I'm going to be at school, and you are too. So we're safe.
Yes, yeah.
And if you and I run into each other as adults, there's no harm in that. Plus, I'm in 93. You're in 90.
Yeah, there's
we're fine.
Some real Christopher Nolan stuff has been going on. Run backwards to the turnstile, and so that's how I spend my lunch. And where are you going after lunch? If we end up at the same place,
no, we're not going to end up at the same place, but. I'm putting Zelda down, even though I probably won't want to, and I'm going to Aladdin's Castle.
Gosh darn it.
Are you really?
It says 1 p.m. Battlefield Mall, Aladdin's Castle, folks. I am now showing Chris my paper.
It does in fact say that, yeah.
All right. Well, we
can save gas.
We are risking existence. Thank goodness for 3 years apart.
Yeah, that's true. You're right.
But yeah, so I'm hanging out at the mall. I started Aladdin's Castle, and I worked my way through Sears. I'm going to take a quick run through Sears. Just slight nostalgia. And then, of course, I'm going to obviously spend some time at Aladdin's Castle. But KB Toys and Circus World are both, and I picked this time period because they're both open.
Yeah.
Before Circus World, it closes just a few months later. There's a lot of research to know that. Everybody, I think, knows KB Toys. I mean, it's pretty well ingrained in the culture. You think mall toy stores, you think KB Toys. But Circus World is right up there. It was a great store. It was a little messier, a little packed. Obviously, it's circus themed. There was some clown stuff, which was, that was the price you had to pay. But I have good memories of Circus World. I bought a lot of Atari games there. There's something about it that just was a little bit, it was like the disheveled, maybe alcoholic toy store, just not quite right. Maybe occasionally sleeping behind a dumpster, whereas KB was more put together, professional.
That's a really good way to put it.
It's bizarre that I anthropomorphized. I mean, said the word wrong, but I gave human qualities
to a
toy store, and then made it an alcoholic. That's bizarre. All right, but yeah, I'm just checking out Circus World and. Not, I don't know, just looking at the aisles and remembering all the, I loved going and looking at the action figures and the video games. I'm just going to experience that. And then on the way out, I'm going to spend a little time at Monkey Ward's, Montgomery Ward's. I don't like Monkey Ward's. I don't know why I said that. It's not funny. It's stupid. I'm going to go to Montgomery Ward's, and I have fond memories of Montgomery Ward's. My parents had a credit card there, so they shopped there a lot. And they had great video game setups. One of the few places you could go and play Sega Master System games. Like, they had the Nintendo, you could choose those. They had that, but they had Sega Master System. They had the 3D glasses for a while. I'm assuming that they got broke and then, not replaced. But I just spent a few minutes. They also had, I think, one of the finest selections of TVs and stereos, which TVs and stereos in the 90s, they weren't that fancy, but it was interesting to see all the different hookups and what they were trying to accomplish.
Oh, and then the stereos would have had such a color palette with like hot pinks and
absolutely
and teals.
And they all got graphic equalizers you can mess with, and they're lit up, and you're right. Different colors. Here's the female one's for the girls. Here's the one for the boys, and but I like Montgomery Ward's. And I'm going to spend a few minutes in the electronic section, just kind of. Remembering it. It's been in my day.
That's fantastic. Now, I'll throw out a couple of memories I have of some of those locations. I remember Montgomery Ward's because that is the place that my parents bought the very first computer that we ever owned.
That was the PS2, right?
Yes, IBM PS2.
Little 286.
Yep, and it unlike the PS1, it had a hard drive and then got rid of one floppy disk drive instead of having two floppy disk drives. Which at the time they were buying it, I'm like, why? Two floppy disk drives are obviously better because there's two of them. Why would you do that? But I cut my teeth on that computer because it was one of those situations where. Nobody cared. like the purpose that we bought it for. I'm not sure that my parents ever did any taxes on it or wrote anything.
Wrote the novel that they've
exactly. So it was just basically it became my thing to play with, and it was the attitude of if you screw something up, you better figure out how to fix it, or it's not going to ever work again.
We learned a lot. I remember we screwed stuff up. We would install games to to the wrong folder and copy stuff into the root and. It was fragile, right?
Yeah.
And we would,
And to this day, I do not know how we learned DOS.
But
we were very proficient.
Oh yeah, I still am. I'll go and I'll have to track something down and use my DOS skills.
It's like learning Spanish just by going to Mexico. I mean, it's like that kind of a thing.
We forced ourselves.
It was so interesting.
Yeah, it was fun, and I remember getting. Wolfenstein to run on that, but it could only run in like a tiny screen. Remember, you'd have to. And I remember
it was like a postage stamp in the middle.
It was, and I would get so sick with those games, those early first-person shooters. Even thinking about it makes me a little bit nauseous. It's much better now with the smoothness and the widescreen. It works, but. Oh man, I remember getting Wolfenstein to work. It was a shareware copy.
Yeah. Maniac Mansion was a big game on that computer.
Did we play Maniac? I know we played it on the NES, but did we play it on the PC as well?
We absolutely. Well, I did. I think maybe because to me that is in my top 10 games of all time.
Sure.
And I think I was always a bigger fan of it than you were.
Oh, I love it. I think but yes, I think so.
So I think after the NES, when you were kind of like, I'm done. I'll play that. Whereas I got the PC version and just played the crap out.
I know the PC version let you do the hamster in the microwave,
whereas
it did. Some of the NES versions did and some didn't.
The first run of it still had that in there, and then somebody figured it out, and it's into thrift.
So if you don't know, listener, what Maniac Mansion is, go just check it out. Watch like a video of somebody playing on YouTube. It is a fun game. It looks like it might not be, right? I mean, the first glance when somebody describes what you're doing, but it is engrossing. And it's funny.
Yeah.
It was just an early example of, I think, just how involved you can get in a game and you could get sucked into that world.
Yeah, early LucasArts. It was good. And that was back when everything LucasArts did was
good.
Amazing.
Yeah. Right. It was the best game was just whatever at the time was whatever LucasArts had recently delivered.
Very true.
Yeah. So hanging on Montgomery Ward's, having memories and stuff like that. I know I think my brother bought his family's first Mac at Montgomery Ward's. He bought an old Mac, and they had it, and they didn't know what to do with it. They would always ask me questions about it. I'm like, I don't know,
it was like, what are these graphics? I need a C prompt with.
Right, exactly. It was to me, it felt like a toy.
Yeah.
So much fun. So that's my afternoon. I'm hanging out at the mall in the afternoon on a Thursday, like a real loser. Get in my Ford Escort. And then about 4:00, I start my early evening stuff. What are you doing through your afternoon and after you're done with the mall?
All right, if I can tear myself away from Aladdin's Castle,
Okay.
which is a big if, I'm gonna go see a movie. And I looked up what movies were playing at this time because, to be honest with you, when I was planning this day, I'm a simple man. I was having trouble filling my day, so I'm thinking of what movies were out in March of 1993. I'm going to go to the theater and I'm going to see National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1.
Oh, well, what a great choice. Before we do that, what theater are you going to? That's critically important.
Well, I'm at Aladdin's Castle. So I'm going to go to Warenberg.
Which, okay, there's two at the mall at the time.
Oh, I forgot about that.
There's the 5-screen.
You're right.
Warenberg, and there's the 1-screen Century 1.
You're right. I'm going to go I'm sticking with Warenberg, though.
Yeah.
Because the 1-screen Century 1, they're probably not running Loaded Weapon.
Well, you know what? No, I saw, what did I see at that? The last movie I saw was a Leslie Nielsen movie. I think it was Dracula
Really?
Dead and Loving It.
At the Century 21?
At the Century 21. So
oh my
they
goodness.
were putting, not the best film available at the time, just whatever I guess they could get. So
that's funny.
that was a big theater. That was,
oh yeah.
It's you go to an IMAX and it is big. It's overwhelming, right? But it's tall and it's shaped. It's precise. But those old school big theaters were just like it was like you're in a indoor, like in a basketball arena, right? It was so big,
and it was built for 70 millimeter, and they had a 70 millimeter projector.
For Dracula Dead and Loving It. I mean,
yes,
really
they
that particular movie.
I mean, the clarity of the image of Leslie Nielsen. It's breathtaking. There's no other way to watch that film. But no, I'm going to go to Warenberg. I'm going to see Loaded Weapon 1, which to me is one of the superior National Lampoon movies. It's so funny.
I remember it, obviously. It was Estevez, Emilio, not the nephew of the famous Joe Estevez. Oh, great actor, greatest actor of his generation, Joe Estevez. But his nephew Emilio stars in
this. He did a few things. Yeah.
He did a few things. He's fine. And then Samuel L. Jackson.
Yes.
And now I want to go watch it. It's like, okay, I remember that being very funny. So I guess I know what I'm doing after the show. Yeah, obviously you're getting old school popcorn. You're going to get a Coke probably.
It's Coke that's 3 times the size of my bladder.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Well, all right. So my early evening, I'm going to drive around a town a little bit. This is the town I grew up in. And I'm going to take a risk. And I'm going to go visit my old neighborhood, the neighborhood that I lived in when we were growing up.
Yeah.
And I might, maybe I'll see a couple kids, riding their bikes. Of course, 90... we were friends then. We were probably inside playing video games, but it was the summer. Maybe I'll just kind of cruise around the neighborhood. And I do want to go. I don't know if you remember that the house that I grew up in over there in Fulbright. Chris and I grew up in the same part of town, not the best part of town.
No,
certainly not now, right? I mean, then it was okay.
Sure,
it was where poor people lived, but it was safe.
You felt safe, yeah, exactly.
Now it's not so safe.
I'm not walking over there.
But we lived in a house, and the house that we had a field behind it, a very large field. It was couldn't really be developed the way the neighborhood was structured. So it just stayed a field, and it occasionally would get mowed. And I would go back there and just shoot BB guns and just walk around. And I always had a BB gun, and I never killed anything with it, but I certainly shot trees. And I would love to go, and if I could find a way to do it without bumping into myself and ending existence, I would love to just go check out and walk around and get some ticks, some time travel ticks, and just
some chigger bites.
Yeah, kind of. I have good memories of going out there in that field, and thinking I was Rambo or something with my BB gun. But yeah, I just kind of see the old neighborhood. And one thing I'll mention about our neighborhood, that neighborhood. So I lived, and the street ended, and there was railroad tracks. So you just imagine you got a street, it ends, and on one side you've got like a cul-de-sac, a small neighborhood, and then the other side you have a trailer park that we were told was where little children go to die. You do not get close to that trailer park. At a certain point, like Pennywise will come out and take you in. It was terrifying. And we had a railroad track, and I was, the rule was that we couldn't go down there. So I had really no idea what was behind the railroad track. Turns out you go behind the railroad track, it's another neighborhood where there's shops.
Oh, to this day I didn't know what was back there.
There was a bike shop.
Wow.
There was a pizza place. You go over the track. That's where Pizza Fast was.
Oh, man.
And so I was so close to all that, but I didn't know because my mom had instilled, terrifying fear of getting too close to that set of railroad tracks. That I'm not even sure a train ever went over those. Now that I think about it,
I don't ever recall one.
But yeah, I'll kind of hang out in the neighborhood, and it's getting close to the evening, but I'm gonna make one more stop downtown. I'm gonna go hang out. I'm gonna check in on George at the Wall of Fame baseball card and comic book store downtown. The wall. So our little town had a downtown area, and downtown was this store called the Wall of Fame, and it sold baseball cards and comic books.
Yep.
And he had everything.
Yeah.
In both category, right? And I was into baseball cards at the time. My older brother introduced me because this guy was a serious collector and moved a lot of product and a lot of money. You wouldn't think George looked like George, he was the human representation of the alcoholic store that I had brought up earlier. George was a mess. But he was an older guy, and he lived in the comic book store. He had a room above the comic book store. That's where he lived. And the guy it was a mess of comic books. And it was cool. You go in there and trade, and you'd always deal, because he liked my brother, because my brother was also dealing in high dollar cards, Mickey Mantles and things like that at the time. So he kept in my brother's good graces by being cool to us. We did not know that at the time. My older brother has now passed away, but I did not fully realize that was the reason why George was nice. So he wasn't just nice to any kids that came in, but man, that dude had everything. And I'm going to go hang out. What, after you have your movie, what are you doing?
So I am going to potentially take my life into my own hands. I'm also going back to the old neighborhood, but not to see the house or anything, or strangely enough, it's now coming to mind that we had a giant field behind our house as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
as an adult, I have a giant field behind my house now. What's going on?
That's crazy. I have a creek behind my house, but no giant field.
Oh,
so
creek's better.
The mosquitoes are pretty rough around the creek, but anyway, or the crick, as I should refer to it as. So I am going back to the old neighborhood, and I'm going to go get a soda from the Pick and Pay market.
The Pick and Pay. I wasn't allowed to go up there without my mom, but
we used to go up there all the time.
Did we go? I thought I wasn't allowed. Maybe
we would constantly, get a couple of bucks from my mom.
Yeah, and from your mom. You know what? You were close.
And we'd ride our bikes and go down there.
Yeah.
Now, should we have? That's a different story.
I think it was fine. I really do think it was fine. That road had a lot of traffic. That's probably the biggest concern.
True. But the Pick and Pay market. So, I say a Pick and Pay market, and to anybody who doesn't remember that specific moment in time in Springfield, you're probably imagining a convenience store or something like that.
Convenience shack.
Yeah, it was a strange building that was barely held together, and they basically sold two things, alcohol. And then they had a giant candy section to lure the kids in to sell them alcohol later.
To get hooked, yeah.
And
they also had baseball cards in packs, too, because they did get some there.
Yeah, so I'm gonna jump in there. I'm gonna grab a soda, maybe some Fun Dip, if I'm feeling really adventurous.
Ooh, yeah, the Fun Dip. Yeah. I love, my favorite part of the Fun Dip is the stick. Yeah, I don't.
No, the powder didn't do anything. But I always felt bad. I was like, well, I paid for it. I got to eat the powder. When all I wanted to do was just tear open the stick.
Eat the stick, because the stick's the best part. Do you remember that neighborhood, that little church that was by your house? Yeah, we went there for a while. As a kid. Yeah, it was.
I think it's still there.
I bet. I would imagine. It was interesting that you had a residential neighborhood. You think about it, just a residential neighborhood. Think about my neighborhood. And instead of, imagine any neighborhood, but instead of a house, you just have a church, which is kind of how it worked out, which is fine, but it's just not something you see often in these planned communities that have rules and things. It was taking me back to the old neighborhood.
I know, crazy.
But I'm done in the old neighborhood at that point. So you got the Pick and Pay. Where are you going then after that?
After that, I'm planning on dinner after that.
So am I.
Okay.
Oh boy.
We're not going to end up at the same place. I guarantee it.
Okay. I hope not. Well, I don't know the way this is going. You go first.
All right. I am going to have a Burger Station.
Okay.
Do you remember that place?
I do. I saw recently, we were driving from Arkansas. We were driving from Florida. Recently, it's been about a year and a half now. And we were driving through Arkansas, and I saw a Burger Station sign, that indicated there was a Burger Station there.
Yeah.
The Burger Station was long gone, but the sign was still there. And I pointed out to my wife, I'm like, that is weird. Middle of nowhere. They had one, it just failed. But I definitely remember Burger Station.
It was a little hole in the wall drive-through situation. They had the best burgers. Oh my goodness, they were so good. So I'm gonna have a bacon double cheeseburger and an order of jalapeno poppers from Burger Station.
They had jalapeno poppers.
I
didn't eat them very much. So
they had the best jalapeno poppers.
Those were all over the city. They just popped up overnight. That was a John Q. Hammonds project, right? I think.
Was it?
I think it was.
I had no idea.
At the time, we had our local, Montgomery Burns, right? Every city has their local rich guy who owns everything. He wasn't a bad guy at all. But just imagine, the guy who owns everything, right? Yeah. The minor league baseball stadium.
Streets named after him.
Yeah, I think that was his project.
Oh, it's interesting. Well, it was a good burger. I can't argue with that.
I remember its existence. I remember the white styrofoam, but I don't remember anything about the food. So.
It was so fresh, and like fresh lettuce, fresh tomato on it. It was so good.
All right, it sounds good. It really does. Well, I'm going somewhere a little different. I am heading over to a pizza place I have such fond memories of, and that's Pizza Inn.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
gonna have dinner at Pizza Inn.
Good choice.
I wrote here, when you can't afford Pizza Hut, you have Pizza Inn. That should have been their slogan. I like Pizza Hut. I have no issue with it, but I loved Pizza Inns where as a kid, when they had the buffet, that we would always get that. Yep. And they had a particularly good thin crust pizza. I just liked it. It was a very dark, it was your typical 80s, 90s pizza place experience. Dark, maybe not the cleanest place, but it was just a fun place. It always had a couple arcade games you could play. I remember 1942 playing that. A lot, good memories of that. So I'm going to have a quick dinner at Pizza Inn before I wrap up my day.
That's a great choice. I remember their dessert pizzas.
Yes.
Really, I mean, they were really, really good.
Really good. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Sadly, I don't remember their real pizzas all that well. But hey, I ate there plenty of times. That buffet was often eaten at.
Yes.
But my parents didn't like it, so I would have to go there with friends.
Yeah. My wife, Mary, my lovely wife, got burned out very quickly on Pizza Inn. I think there was some cleanliness issues that I overlooked.
Sure.
Which I don't know if I could do that today, but
that
certainly
added
at the time,
to the flavor.
Yeah, it was so good. My favorite thing was, and I don't get this anywhere else, but I'll eat that there. It was pepperoni and mushroom.
Oh.
I love pepperoni. I love mushroom, but rarely would I put them together, except at Pizza Inn. Somehow it just worked different, and I loved it.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have dinner there. Hopefully, it's a buffet night. I think it probably is. If not, I'll just order a large thin and a soda and enjoy it. Maybe go to the salad bar and eat some pudding. They always had pudding on the salad bar.
Yes, they did.
I don't understand that. And let me get a scoop of pudding, dip my pizza in. I guess that was dessert. And I got one more stop. I'm gonna cap my night in the past off with a trip to the movies as well. And I'm going to go to the Northtown Mall. Okay. It was our secondary mall. So we already visited, folks, the Battlefield Mall with a big regional mall, about 160, 180 stories. Stores. It was huge. It's a mall that still exists today. The Battlefield Mall does. Northtown Mall does not exist. It was a failed mall on the bad side of town. But it did have a movie theater, and the movie theater basically stayed open as long as the mall was standing, and then it closed and got knocked down. But I'm going to go, and I have a lot of fond memories of that small theater. My wife and I saw, as a kid, we would go there for the summer movies. You get the dollar movies you could go to. I did some of those, and then my wife and I went there. We were adults, and before it closed, saw quite a few movies there. Jackie Brown, I remember seeing Jackie Brown there, which is a Tarantino movie, one of the better Tarantino movies because he didn't write it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. It was based on an Elmore Leonard story.
I knew that.
Yeah.
But I assumed Tarantino.
Well, I'm sure he probably did, right, but it was not his overall arch and the characters. While they had some, Tarantino idiosyncrasies, they had many more Elmore Leonard, sort of imprints on them. But,
gotcha.
But anyways, I'm going to go see a movie. And I picked that date specifically because I am going to do something that's not nostalgic. I'm going to see a movie that I should have seen in the theaters and that honestly, I have never watched. In fact, I can't remember a frame of this movie.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I'm going to go see Dick Tracy.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
I know that surprises you.
It does surprise me. It also surprises me that came out in 90.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is the so I picked, this is the week after the opening.
Okay.
I'm going on Thursday.
Well,
it should be nice and dead.
It's a good plan.
In the theater.
So it's actually a really good movie.
I have never, you know what? I've never seen it. It's not one that anyone talks about.
No.
It had, obviously Warren Beatty, Madonna, Al Pacino. I don't know who else is in it. But I need to see that. But I was thinking as I was constructing this trip, let's inject something that I didn't do as opposed to just redoing things that I've done. So I'm going to hang out. I'm going to watch Dick Tracy in my favorite old school theater, and just take that in, and that kind of wraps up my night. I gotta get the escort back to the time travel rental, and they strip me naked and spray me down with time travel juice. I don't know if that's necessary.
It's like a 12 Monkeys
what they like to do.
on
It
that
is.
one.
It's 12 Monkeys time travel. I could pull my tooth out and stay there. I recently, by the way, tried to watch 12 Monkeys. It is a great movie, but it's hard to watch.
I have not watched it in a long time. I have good memories of it.
Yeah.
I like if you would have asked me, I would have said, "Oh, yeah, it's a great movie." But to be fair, I have not tried to watch it in a very long time.
It is a great movie, despite Terry Gilliam's or Gilliam or however you say it, his just weirdness. That the flourishes are unnecessary, and if he had just trimmed a little bit of fat, and Brad Pitt is just every second he's on the screen. It's
he's great.
All the eyes are on him.
Great in it.
Yeah, he's just a scene stealer. But anyways, yeah. So 12 Monkeys time travel is really bad. I'm gonna wake up in a cage. But no, that wraps up my day in the past.
That's fantastic. Yeah. After I have my burger at Burger Station, I'm turning in the car and I'm heading to bed. So.
Well, you should have jumped back 3 years and come watch Dick Tracy with me.
Yeah. We needed to coordinate our trips better.
Yes, I should have sent you my time travel itinerary from my time travel agent.
Oh yeah, I gotta go meet Dave 3 years ago.
3 years ago. No, I had a lot of fun just kind of constructing this day, because it was more about like, okay, what are the things that I miss and that I would like to do. I didn't go to a Kmart, which, just no time, right? Kmart was on my, it didn't make the cut.
No.
I'll drive by a couple of them and, and that'll be enough, I guess. And there's other things that I would like to do, certainly, but it was just sort of like things that I remember maybe partially, but I don't want to lose those memories. Like if I could just do it again, it would cement them, right? And make them real. I don't know. I had a lot of fun just thinking about just going back and messing around at Toys R Us, and
it was an interesting set of rules that you proposed, and it caused me to have to think long and hard about what am I going to do. And I did, so like your reason for picking your date was Dick Tracy, a movie that you never saw, and going back through,
the week after, so it wouldn't be busy.
Yeah. I'll tell you the reason I picked the specific month that I did is there's this memory I have in my life that I am constantly going back to, because it's there's absolutely nothing special about the memory, but it kind of signifies to me the most like carefree, innocent moment of my life. And so it's a very comforting memory. Like if I'm ever stressed or anything like that, this is where kind of I go in my mind. But the memory is I was 12 years old, and in March of 1993, I would have been 12, even though I was born in 80, because I hadn't had my birthday yet. And I would come home from school every single day. I would pop in The Legend of Zelda on my Super Nintendo. I would play it, but I would turn the volume of my TV down, and I would put in a cassette that had songs recorded from the radio, because we did that back then. And it was actually a cassette that you had captured, because I was never patient enough to sit by the radio and hit the buttons. So you made this cassette, and on the song, I still remember the songs to this day. It was Cats in the Cradle by Harry Chapin. It was Steam by Peter Gabriel.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Under the Bridge by the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Okay.
And Sweet Dreams Are Made of These by the Eurythmics. Now, 4 songs you would not put on a playlist, but that was the cassette I had at the time, and that's what I was listening to. And I would play Legend of Zelda, and I would hit play on that cassette, and when it was over, I'd rewind it, and I'd start the whole process again. And this was a point in my life before school got challenging. It was a point in my life, certainly before I had a job. It was a point in my life where the only thing I had to worry about was, how am I going to fill this evening? What am I going to have for dinner?
Right.
Like, that was it.
Yep.
And so part of what I'm choosing today to go back to is that moment. And that's why, I started off the day getting Legend of Zelda and spending some hours on that. But there were other things that I wanted to pick up and catch then. So that was my reason behind what I did.
That I really like that choice, because there are moments and periods in your life where you can think, man, I did not have anything to worry about.
Yeah. And just that lack of worry, and that was my focus. That's a memory that has stuck with me my entire life. And I still go back and play Legend of Zelda Link to the Past probably annually, because it's my favorite Zelda game, and it just means a lot to me.
That's cool.
Growing up with that.
I do like that game. I got pretty far in it. I wasn't as dedicated to it as you were. I always have my strong preference was for the original over the top Legend of Zelda, the OG.
Yep.
But I also like Link's Adventure. I got really far on that, and
I have a whole
good times.
That's a different podcast, but those weird sequels that Nintendo made back before there was an internet and nobody could criticize them for making weird sequels. Those are some really special games
because they owned Nintendo Power. They owned the means of communication.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And everybody was like, "This is the best move ever, side-scrolling Link," and we were all just like, "I guess it is."
It was pretty. It was different. It was good, and
it would never happen now.
Right. They took a risk.
Yeah. And that one, Super Mario Brothers 2 has a special place in my heart because it's so different.
Absolutely.
And it just fascinates me that we've come away from that as a culture, and now we're just like, I just want Avengers 27 and I want it to be the same thing as Avengers 1.
Yep.
Like that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Well, and how did we spend our days redoing things that we've already done too?
True.
Right? There's comfort in
is.
in that in those sort of moments, and I think for me, I picked moments where I was recapturing that feeling of peace or innocence, right? That I was just recapturing that with each stop, and who would think that sitting in McDonald's in the sunken down part of the dining room would have that sort of positive effect on your mental outlook? I think it would. I think it would be a really cool thing. And that's why I constructed mine the way that I did. But I think this was a good exercise in mental sort of getting it out. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure the right words, but
well, yeah, I don't know.
Therapeutic, maybe.
There you go. Cathartic.
That's the word.
Yeah. So, and it possibly our first podcast episode that's only for us.
Maybe
that nobody else will give.
What the heck are these?
Any care about this?
Yeah. But listen, we have evidence of time travel.
Yes.
We got that, Chris's janitor friend, who seriously should consider churning himself in. He might be able to avoid, prison.
But I feel so comforted knowing that we'll be living in Bezos 5 in the future.
Yeah, right. The Midwest of Mars, and
fantastic.
I can't wait. The dust storms, the days that are above 5 degrees Celsius, the rare days.
Yeah.
It's gonna be good times in the Midwest of Mars.
As long as you chew your anti-rad gum or smoke.
I'll be smoking. Why did they make them? Why did they do that? That was a really silly thing. Maybe I'll go back and in the future I'll be able to explain why they shouldn't make the cigarettes.
Maybe
that you're supposed to smoke. No, I think that this was a fun way to construct a day of nostalgia.
And listeners out there, what would you do? Yeah. Ping us. Send us an email.
Yeah. What is there anything that connected with you on our lists? Were you too poor for Pizza Hut and you had to go to Pizza Inn like some of us did?
Did you live on 2 streets in town and know what the Pick and Pay Market was?
Right. And also, maybe a railroad track you weren't allowed to cross.
Exactly.
In a trailer that park that you should really stay away from. That was legitimately scary stuff. I will tell one quick story from the neighborhood because it was a little bit rough. I was out one day where the kids, one of them had a mini bike, those little gas powered mini bikes. And they had kind of tricked me to stand by this rope. And basically I was standing inside of, they lassoed my foot and they took off and they got my foot and I was dragged a few feet before the rope just broke. But
wow.
That was the kind of, I've got my soda, a can of Sprite flies out of my hand. Pretty sure I'm wearing pajamas. I probably should have just stayed in the house. But there were some rough kids.
Yeah.
If you could afford a gas powered vehicle, like a mini bike or a go-kart, there were a few of those cruising around the area. You either were the richest of the poor, or maybe he stole it. I don't know. No
Or-
judgment, but
Yeah, or made poor choices. It's like, do we eat tonight or do we get the gas
get the
powered
mini
motorcycle?
bike. I'll go shoplift at the Pick and Pay if I get hungry.
Good
Yeah,
episode.
Good times.
Yeah. Where can they find us?
If you go to Service Merchandise, you will take a card that says 2 middle-aged guys. No, you can find us at 2 middleagedguys.com. That's our website. You can email us there from there. You can check out all the episodes. I write some words occasionally and string them together in sentences that come close to making sense. You can read those if you are really interested to learn how to, for example, watch Buckaroo Banzai. I give you a handy guide for how to approach that difficult film. And they can just check us out. Also, we're on all the socials. Just look for 2 middle-aged guys on Facebook, and we're on X. Finally, I'm saying that now. I think everyone's formerly Twitter. X.
I still haven't updated the link.
Okay, well, look for Twitter. I think everybody kind of knows what it is. But yeah, we're out there. Check us out. If you like the podcast, subscribe. Write a review.
Oh, that's big, especially on Apple.
On Apple, because, the reviews, first of all, we want to read them. We want the feedback.
Yeah.
And second of all, every review, changes the algorithm in our favor. So that then other people, it makes it easier for them to find the show. So check us out in all those places. We'd love to hear from our listeners.
And if you're listening to this episode, then you've probably listened to our previous episode where we read a listener mail.
Yeah.
And you could be the next listener mail.
I will violate your privacy by reading your mail. No, we'll, of course, ask permission.
Of course.
Before doxing you. Well, I had fun.
Yes.
And, let's just see how this goes.
We'll see you next time.
All right. Bye-bye.
Hey, Dave.
Yes.
I went back and I listened to that old episode that we recorded back in 2023. It was different now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was it better?
Oh, of course not.